So not only were you on The Amazing Race, but you won The Amazing Race, which I spoiled the finishing for me at like midway through the season. I Googled some shit and I was like, oh, they won. And then I was so much more invested in it after that. Explain to me what that experience was like for you, because that's a crazy show to go on.
Insanity. Absolute insanity. So a little backstory. I was a huge fan of The Amazing Race.
Wait, sorry, pull this down just a little bit. Yeah. So we see your face.
Don't block.
There we go.
Oh, don't block those teeth.
Yeah,
my parents spent good money on braces when I was 16, so come on. Yeah, huge fan of The Amazing Race. I think it's one of the best reality shows, that's ever been produced. I auditioned 5 times.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And the first couple times involved sleeping on the sidewalk, like for the cattle call casting. So me and my ex, my girlfriend at the time, drove to San Francisco, slept on the sidewalk. You finally get through the queue like 8 hours later. They come in, they're like, state your names. I'm like, Matt. She's like, and then they're like, okay, thanks, bye. And we're like, wait, that's all. We got to say like 20 seconds of why we should be on the show. Cut, great. We did this 5 times. And finally we were like, all right, it might be time to give up. Like, we're wasting a lot of time, a lot of gas money here, sleepless nights on sidewalks. It's not a good look.
Was it always in San Francisco?
It's San Francisco, yeah. And then sometimes you could submit tapes too.
Okay.
And then they decided to have a social media all-star season of The Amazing Race. And I get an email and they're like, hey, have you ever heard of this great show called The Amazing Race? We're interested in having you on. And I was like, type my name into your database, however it works, like look me up. And they were like, oh, you've auditioned a couple times. And I was like, yes, bring me on the show. Like, we will win. I was so confident. And then I got on the show and I realized it's way harder than it looks. It's real.
It looks pretty hard. Does it not look insane? I think it looks crazy. All of those logistics to have to come together perfectly on each leg.
Yeah, and I mean, I've worked in television for a while, so I know how things look on TV, but then how they actually are. So I was like, oh, they're gonna like give us some nice steak dinners. Someone's to do our laundry. Like maybe we'll run it back if a take isn't good. No, none of that. It's all real.
Wow.
Like whatever you come with in your backpack on the first day, that's all you get for the month of taping. No laundry, no nothing, no good meals.
No laundry?
No laundry. We washed our clothes in the sink with soap bars.
Jesus.
Like the same, like 4 pairs of underwear. You just like, you're grinding. It's real. And, no take twos either. Like whatever the host says, if he says something wrong, like that's it. It is what it is. And so it really gave me a lot of respect, 1, for the show, but 2, it also helped me a lot in developing my own content to realize that level of, excellence is sort of achievable, and you don't need to do second takes. You don't need to run things back. Like if you're prepared and you're on your stuff, then run it.
Yeah, that's, I guess, like what we were talking about before we just started here about live. I like live productions. My old podcast was all live. We did it all live on Facebook, and it just, it doesn't give you the opportunity to be like, oh God, we got to clip that out, got to do this, got to do that. And it kind of forces you to really be concise, articulate, and on the ball, while you're performing, and also to forgive yourself and just let it flow and realize that you don't have to be perfect, which I think is really cool. Okay, I gotta roll back to Amazing Race really fast. Just a few questions that I have to ask about the show. If you don't mind me asking, how much money do you actually take home after taxes within California?
All right, so prize is $1 million.
Right. Split it by 2.
Split by 2 because it's you and your partner.
Right,
500K. I think it was around 270.
Okay.
So it's like 45% tax.
So it's a lot, but I thought it was like 60 or something percent. So that's quite sure.
Yeah. I mean, that was at a time too where I was still, YouTube was going well. Like but I can't monetize most of my content because of music copyright claims, right?
Song things.
So like a lot of times people come up to me and be like, bro, you must have made like 4 million last year off YouTube alone. And I'm like, that's right, 4 cents.
You're like, no.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, it comes back to me in many other ways.
Right, of course.
Brands and tours and all of that. But so, to me, like that was a ton of money at the time as a dancer and stuff. So, it wasn't like I had a lot of other income stacking up to make the total, too high.
Yeah.
But yeah, that really changed my life in a lot of ways. It gave me some freedom to figure out what I wanted to do. It allowed me to invest into crypto for the first time. And, it was really, really great. But the California taxes, man, they're no
it's fucking brutal.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that Do you feel like that season after that season that it really helped in terms of your recognition, like your fame and your following and things like that? Or did it not have as much of an impact as you would have expected?
I would say it almost had zero impact.
Because it's funny that you say that, because I kind of assumed it did, because it's so disconnected from everything else, right?
Yeah.
It's like so separate. It's not like you're growing as a dancer on there.
Yeah. And I also didn't think it was going to have much of an impact, but I remember like people and even CBS being like, kind of thinking like, wow, like this is gonna be great for you guys. Like, I remember thinking like, I don't think one person that's a fan of The Amazing Race cares about Rihanna dance videos on YouTube. Maybe one.
I think maybe one
or two.
Yeah.
But not a big crossover.
Yeah.
You know, it's not huge. But I'll tell you what it did make a big difference for is the people that watch The Amazing Race are the kind of people that I want to connect with. They love travel. They love art. They're creative. They explore. They take risks. And my audience on YouTube is a little bit more like high school, college, enjoys dance, likes pop music. And I didn't really have a way of connecting with that audience. And so for me, even though they didn't necessarily follow me on social media, still the like, hey, you were on Amazing Race, and like the people that love that show, it's really been amazing. And it kind of takes me out of the influencer bubble and the background dancer bubble a little bit too, because how many people can say that they won, you know, realistically, Amazing Race, Big Brother, Survivor, those are kind of like the
shows,
reality shows.
I'm
right?
dying to win Survivor and The Amazing Race. I'd love to win them all.
I couldn't do Survivor.
I think I could. I think I would just want to try. Like, I would just want to see. I know it would be so fucking hard, but when you're there, you're already there. May as well just finish it. I don't know. I think it would be so incredible. I went to a wilderness program when I was 13, so I lived in the woods for 3 months.
Wow.
I mean, as a punishment, but now I would do it as choice for the chase for the million. Yeah. But it would be it's so much more than the money, like going on something like Survivor, The Amazing Race. It's such an experience.
Yeah.
Out of this world experience that you can't even really compare it to anything, to literally anything. It's so insane. So, okay, I don't know if you know, do you know MTV's The Challenge? You know that show?
Yeah.
Have they called you at all to go on? Because they've been bringing on a lot of the CBS stars, and you're right in the age range.
I think so. To be honest, I'm not sure. I still get hit up a good amount.
Yeah.
By reality shows because of The Amazing Race.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, like, The Amazing Race was my show. Yeah. That was it. Like, I don't watch Survivor. I don't watch Big Brother. I don't watch The Challenge.
You should watch Survivor.
Of them. I know, but like,
so fucking good.
It's great. Like, I've seen them.
Makes
right?
me cry watching.
But like, Amazing Race was like, I did not miss an episode.
Yeah.
I knew every challenge. I knew every second of that show, and I got the chance to go on my dream show. I got the chance to win my dream show. I don't want to do anymore. Like, I'm good. You know, like I'll do other shows, but as far as like competition reality show, it's like winning the Super Bowl and being MVP, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna retire. Like, I'm good. You know, it's kind of like that. There aren't really any that, in my opinion, just because I'm such a super fan of The Amazing Race, stand up to it. So I left with like the best experience, and you know, it's insane the stuff that they're able to pull off. I mean, within a month span, I like jumped off of a high rise in LA, took helicopters, like we jumped off of a cliff on a hang glider thing and whatever that's called, paragliding in Chamonix, France. Like, and we're in the mud volcanoes in Colombia, and it's just like
so cool,
insane stuff like that you could never, even with money, you can't necessarily do, because they're able to get permits and opportunities because the countries want the publicity.
Right.
So they're willing to let you do things that the public would never be able to do. And just ridiculous stuff too. Like, at one point we were in Bali, and they had this thing where you had to get like 100 coconuts and 6 chickens across a 1,000
and you
foot
guys had angry ass
bridge.
chickens too, because it was towards the end.
The chickens were so mad.
I can't believe how quick she grabbed the chickens. I would have been so scared. Like,
well, I'm also like, you know, I'm like thinking of like
the weight of the coconuts and shit, right?
Well, no, just like what is it? Not the SPCA, but like PETA. Like, I'm like, how do you hold? I don't know how to properly. I don't want to disrespect the chicken or like, you know. But the wings are everywhere. And it was crazy. I'm trying to wrangle this chicken.
Fucking crazy.
Balance like 12 coconuts. Like, you would never do that because it's terrible. It's torture. But
But so cool.
So cool.
So the coolest kind of torture there ever was.
Can you imagine going to Bali with your friends and they're like, all right, guys, today, 100 coconuts, cross the bridge, and 7 chickens, ready, go. Like, you'd be like,
and you're like, what?
You're like, I thought we were...
Pina colada?
No, okay, the actual coconuts. Got it.
That's hilarious. Yeah, so Bali's where you did the cliff jump as well, and I know you landed on your ass. I did the same thing in Thailand, cliff jumping, and I actually have had a injured tailbone since then.
Really?
Yeah, it like fucked it up.
Did I say that, or did you just notice?
No. I saw when you landed, you were like, "Oh, that really hurt," because they clipped back between you and I think Tyler also landed right on his ass, and he's like, and I kept thinking, "Oh, I've had that feeling. It's the worst feeling ever."
Oh my god, it's terrifying.
It's fucking like concrete, man.
Yeah, it was because it was so windy.
Yes.
And so I jumped off straight, but the wind just angled me a little bit.
Yeah.
And I thought I broke my back when I hit the water. I was like, I just remember as soon as I landed, the guy comes over with the jet ski and he's like, you good? You good? And I said yes, but in my mind I was like, no, I'm not good. I felt like my limbs detached from my body. It was really, really scary. And it was kind of like like you can get like a stinger in football where it's like a temporary, like not like a paralysis, but everything goes tingly and you just like,
you're like, fuck.
It's really scary. Yeah, I haven't cliff jumped since then.
No, honestly, I haven't either since then because that scared the shit out of me too. My feet like flung all the way up.
Oh, wow.
And I landed like flat on my ass. It was like so, you don't realize how bad it is, but I also was like, no, I'm cool, I'm good.
Yeah,
like,
and then you're like, am I good?
And I was not fucking good at all. But my friend was so scared too, so I had to be like, I'm good. And she was up there. It took her like 30 minutes to jump. I was like, don't worry, Ton, you got this. Like I was fine. But climbing down was, I think, even more dangerous at that point, which is the scarier thing. The only exit is to jump.
Yeah.
That's the worst. So did you feel like you had an advantage when the final challenge was in LA and you'd been living there already for a bit?
No, not really.
Not really.
Direction wise, it didn't. The advantage that I had is that I studied the show. That's really it. Like people hit me up all the time and are like, yo, I auditioned. Like, what's your tip? I'm like, watch every episode. Yeah. That's it. Because you're not going to know the challenges, but it does follow patterns, So did you watch the finale?
Yeah, I watched. I'm now binged a couple other because I used to binge that show all the time. I loved it, and then when I saw you were on, I was like, oh, I gotta watch that again. And I think I even watched your season years ago. And now I'm binging other seasons. I'm back on 27. Like I'm just fucking such a good show. It's unbelievable.
And it's coming back. They're doing like season like 34.
I'm applying with my friend Kareen. We're gonna be in Portugal together in July. So I'm like, let's film a fucking audition tape. Why not? We would crush that show. Yeah, it's
I'll on the side, I'll give you some tips and training.
Absolutely.
But like, here's the thing: you get to the finale, and you never know what the finale challenge is going to be, but you know that it's going to be memorization, right? So like the preparation that we did, right? You're allowed to take a little notebook, and so throughout the entire season, every day when we finished a challenge, we wrote down everything we did, every person we talked to, the city, the food we ate, the language they speak, the currency, the person that sent us off, the person that was at the mat, at the finish line, what they said. Like I had a full notebook of every single thing, right? And then on every flight or every train, all we did was just go through it and test each other on memorization.
Nice.
The whole way. Like
nice.
Crazy people, right? And so, and the only reason we knew that the only time that was going to come in handy was the final challenge. Yeah. But we knew that it was going to be one of us was going to get put up for it, and it was going to be some memorization about the entire season and what happened. And so we were like, if we make the finale, we will win. Like all we have to do is survive until the finale. And we almost killed each other halfway through.
That shit cracked me the fuck out, to be honest. Like some of those moments I was like, oh my God. I felt bad laughing too. I was like, Matt is dying, but I was like, I can't help it. This is just entertainment.
It's real. It's real. Like you don't eat properly. You don't sleep a lot. And it's weeks, and you're in a foreign country and you can't speak the language. And sometimes the cameramen like nudge you a little bit. They're like, hey, what's going on, guys? And you're like, don't talk to us. You're like day 20 of being a zombie, There was one moment when you guys were walking camels, I think, through the desert, and you were wearing a flannel, and she was like, you're wearing a fucking flannel in the desert. I almost cried. I was like, why are you wearing a flannel? I couldn't even control. I was like, holy shit, you're wearing a flannel in the desert. It was just the funniest line. It was so in passing, and it was and it's such a like indicative. That is literally a microcosm of just the energy that happens in The Amazing Race, because
things get so frustrating when
Yeah.
you're in that kind of exhausted, overworked, like drenched, uncomfortable, dirty laundry like phase. It's so the funniest things come out, like because it really brings you to your root core.
Yeah.
Stress is a factor. How'd
We
you
in
keep so calm?
Dubai.
Yeah.
They said, you're going to Dubai. I'd never been to Dubai at the time. I was like, oh, we land. You're going to walk a camel through the desert in the 120 degree for 4 hours. I was like, you brought us to Dubai for this?
That is the challenge I would have chosen, though, not the race the camels.
Yeah.
Who thought they could beat camels on bikes?
Cycling, right?
Are you out of your mind?
Race a camel?
I would never be able to beat a camel on a bike.
No.
There's no chance in hell.
Both challenges sucked. But
you got snacks at the end of yours.
Yes, we did.
Which is what I would have chosen.
I mean, always choose the snacks.
Always
Come
the
on.
snacks.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was not easy to maintain composure. That's for sure.
Well, you did really well though in that. I felt like you really had a cool head the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, most of the people that get kicked off the race that get eliminated, it's not for not being the most physically fit. It's not for being too dumb to figure out it's normally a temporary split bad decision.
Yeah.
You know, it's losing your composure, arguing, getting crazy, and then doing something out of spite or not making the right decision, you know? So I try to just always be like, we can have our differences, we can fight whatever, but like, let's also win.
Yeah, let's win. Let's win.
I don't care what it is, but like you could be right, I could be right, but whoever we think is more right, that's what we're going with. Like it's not about who's right.
Yeah, it's about what's going to be the actual best. Like let's put our egos aside. We're here to fucking win.
Yeah.
Completely. And it's always people that get out. It is that small split decision of not reading the directions properly, missing to take this from there, or, you know, thinking that you have to go on that route when it's really right there. Like there's a lot of those moments on the show, and it's when I think if you've studied it like you have, then you do see it. I didn't realize how big of a fan you were, so it does make sense that you were so educated. I was like, damn, he's just so good at this.
And it's life lessons too, right? Yeah. Like the amount of times even I was doing this NFT, like it was like in order to get the drop, you had to solve this riddle, right? And the second line of the riddle said something like, none of the lines below this matter except for like line number 16, right? I was the only one that read that because everyone else was just trying to figure out
the whole thing.
You know, and they're all super smart, like way smarter than me. But one of the things I learned on The Amazing Race is don't try to take shortcuts. Make sure you do it right the first time. And I just happened to be like, all right, let me read this. Like, I'm not going to outsmart these people anyway, so they're going to beat me to the punch. So let me just take the time. And I ended up getting it.
Nice.
And they were like, how did you do that? I was like, The Amazing Race, baby.
You're like, I just read the directions.
Sometimes it's not about being the best. It's just about not fucking up.
It's very
Some solid advice.
It's very fucking true. What was the strategy for picking roadblocks? Because you guys have to pick them right after that little intro, right? Like, who wants to...
Yeah, you don't get a lot of information. It is a little bit of a toss up. We knew that obviously like anything super physical, we wanted to put me forward because I'm tall.
But how could you guess what's physical and stuff? Were there kind of hints?
It's not really.
Could you look around to see if people were doing it around you to see?
No, it's always far enough away that you wouldn't know. You just kind of had to go off of the words, you know, and there were times where we messed up, you know, but like in Georgia, it was a thing with like the Georgian ballet, and it said something, I can't remember what the clue is, but it sounded artistic in the vibe. And so we were just like, you know, and anything that was like heights or anything that sounded physical, we put me forward. Like, you know, the difference between winning and losing really was putting me for the last challenge, because it was the one, it jump off the skyscraper in LA.
Yeah, and catch the thing.
And grab
I would have
clue,
never been able to jump that far.
And she's 5'4".
Yeah, no
like
way.
It would have taken her so many tries, like it did the
other teams,
girl, the mom, that they put her forward, you know. And so some of it is calculated guesses, you know. And that was kind of crazy. After the show, they said that they test all of the challenges, right? Many times with different people. And they said in the test, nobody got that the first try.
Oh,
Not
what?
one person. They said they didn't think it was possible.
So they were expecting it to take longer.
Yeah, they wanted you to like
you know,
fail, and then they move it a little closer, and you have to come back up. And they were like, when you got it the first time, we were like, that's not supposed to happen.
We're like, damn. But that's pretty impressive.
To explain for anyone that didn't see it, they hang a clue, the next clue, or like a envelope out off the edge of the building, right? And it's like a wooden plank, like literally like Peter Pan,
like a pirate plank.
Walk the plank off of a 40-floor skyscraper, and you're hooked into like a bungee cord. But this is the most stressful part of the entire show. They get you up there, and then everyone has a mandatory, it's like a 10-minute safety check.
Okay.
So to make sure everything, because we're rushing and racing, they don't want you jumping off a building and like you're not clipped in right.
Fucking so scary.
So when you get up there, they start a timer, like, all right, make sure you're good or whatever. So you're standing there waiting, like looking around, and basically, like it's pretty terrifying.
Wait, you're standing there on the plank for that 10 minutes? Oh, fuck.
To make sure, and it's, fair. And
right, of
obviously,
course.
like, because people always ask me, they're like, when you're jumping off buildings, like, is it just like rushed? Like that sounds dangerous. I was like, no, like
that does sound.
That would be terrifying.
That show is. There were some challenges on the show that have been really scary. Like the canoeing with crocodiles was on one season, which was like insane.
Yeah, thankfully no dangerous animals. I mean, it's like I said, it's an amazing show.
Yeah,
to this day, like,
amazing. The Amazing Race.